Hi everyone, it's Mike Levin, Monday, June 13th, around 11 a.m., 2016. And when last we left off, I had gotten through a number of initial successes that I needed to have in order to be able to, I am in Jupyter Notebooks, previously IPython Notebook, and I'm working out of this directory here, so I double-click the navigator from inside of there to have the context of inside that directory when I launch this. What's further, when I typed to launch it, I had done it from being inside one of the virtual environments created by Conda, the equivalent of pip under the Anaconda system. So because they've compiled and prepared so much software themselves, they have their own repo system. And so this instance of IPython I have running is actually running from the Conda virtual environment, Python 3.5, out of this directory. So the first success was being able to import this as a local library. That's this one here, success. And then being able to pull in a function from inside of there, success. And then showing the fact that we're actually running from the virtual environment, that you can tell by seeing the virtual environment name there, but also by seeing this directory, which will probably come into play again. Under your own home directory, there's a miniconda 3. Inside there, there's envs, and then your named environments. And you'd find things like the Python exe and probably this stuff installed under the pip install system somewhere inside of here. And then finally, the final step of success was importing a external package that was not part of the Conda system, but using the normal pip install system to make sure that when I used pip from a normal command line out here somewhere, that it was doing using the right pip and installing it into the virtual environment, that it became available to me through IPython Notebook, Jupyter Notebook. So that's where I'm at right now, and as my journal says right here, I am up to the step of making my journal itself quite meta. So what do I mean by that? Well, my last product, Pipulate, as awesome as it was, is not as awesome as the Jupyter Notebook environment. This is a very nice environment to be in if you want things that are, you're rapidly experimenting, you're able to carry out explorations real well, and you have a full and nice to debug in Python environment while doing it, with plenty of access to as large of supporting libraries as you want to have there. So I'm going to have something more like import Pipulate as what happens here. And this outer loop thing, I am very keen on making maximum use of Python's with statement. If you Google Python with open file to understand what's going on there, it's easy to find this page here by fbot.org that walks you through not only how it's so defensive, but how it is a lot like a Python iterator object, which basically pulls back a little bit of your data source, processes it in memory, and releases it, kind of like fire hose mode, you might think. So it's extremely memory efficient. So this is the outer loop that's destined to be the outer loop format for Pipulate itself. And the last project I was working on actually was using that approach. And let's see, I'm stepping through a pretty large file of stuff, but I'm going to be stepping through my journal. So this test file here is going to be changed to testing. I don't need most of this stuff, but I'm going to be doing one of these with statements. Copy. Now, so IPython Notebook is running out of the wrong directory for this, so I should probably like leave this intact. I am going to quit out of these two. Well, I'll do it the official way by Control-C'ing out of here. Yes, and then you'll get a little pop-up right away over here saying the connection's broken to the server. So that's fine. Quit out of that. Quit out of that one. We're going to run it again, but this time using this navigator thing out of my journal directory. In fact, I don't even need to do it that way. Now that I'm here, I can just cd to home in this repository where I know it's located. ls. Now I guess I really do want to create a virtual environment here, even for editing my journal. And my journal itself has recently had that nomenclature. I need to memorize it, but until I do, I will create an environment. It's always hard to sort of copy out of this. Okay, there we go. Copy. You can tell by the colors you're looking at whether you're looking at the operating systems, copy, highlighting, or VIMs. And you don't want VIMs. So we're going to create a virtual environment inside my journal directory, which is going to, already exists. I just need to name it differently. There's a name collision sort of thing going on here. So VENV is the one that's, I guess, tied to that save serp folder. So I guess this is going to have to be called journal. Let's call it journal. And then it's going to drop all the stuff that's required for running Jupyter Notebook right into my journal directory. So if I do a git status, you should see, well, the index has been modified. What about all those directories? The virtual environment stuff is not stored in that same directory. This is not VENV that we're dealing with, or virtual ENV that we're dealing with anymore. This is Conda's own version, so it doesn't go inside that Git repo. That's very interesting. But at any rate, I can use the syntax now to activate it. Source activate journal. Easy enough. You'll see the, I switched from VENV, so I'm going to exit. You'll see it go back to VEN. So it switches without nesting your logins. That's interesting to know. So you don't have to be in this exit, exit, exit to switch out of your virtual ENVs. So we just cd back into that directory and source activate journal. And you'll see the journal in parentheses before the prompt right here, so you know you're in the right thing. Now you can just go Jupyter Notebook. And now I am running Jupyter Notebook from inside my journal repo, which is a Git and GitHub repo. And now I can create a new project. I wonder if I'll make it part of the repo. That will always be an interesting question. But basically we go new, Python 3. I'm going to call this, I don't know, metajournal.py. Oh wait, no, I see, we just made a new file. I'm going to rename it here, metajournal.py. I don't even know if it needs the py extension. We can look in here to see what it created. Yeah, we don't need that py extension. This is for a IPyNB, IPython Notebook file. So this just needs to be metajournal. Give it a nice strong identity. And that with statement now can go here. And instead of x.txt, it's going to be index.html as journal, data.journal, data equals journal.read, do something with data. That's a comment. So I could just write it out, but what I'm going to do is I'll switch this to for a line in journal print, and you'll see my whole journal print out. A line. Now I know I'm going to do new equals because for some reason in the move to Python 3 or interaction with IPython or something along these lines, I get an extra space after each line. So print now supports this keyword, and we should just see my journal pop up and probably what's going to look like an iframe here. Ah, okay, new, okay. Oh, end, it's not new, it's end. Things can't be perfect on the first take, can they? So the journal's pretty big. I believe it's executing in the background, and I believe it's probably going to pop up here in a moment. There might be a caching thing going on. You can see I downloaded this mini Conda thing, which is the essentially getting the Conda repo system here without, okay. Do we wait or do we kill it? We'll wait a little bit longer. There it is, okay. That's my journal. Hard to scroll. It's going to be terrible to sort of visualize in here because it's HTML being shown from inside HTML, and there will be plenty of problems. But that is still a success-assured moment. My project is going to be stepping through this and treating each journal entry as if it's its own separate database entry or something, and then hitting the YouTube API and getting my list of videos, and then editing my videos right into my journal at the time, so that I'm sort of, zipping together YouTube videos I made with journals entries I made. I never took the time to, do a YouTube embed in my journal. I was just running, going forward too quickly through this all. So my plan is to just make my journal much more meta and do processing of my journal using this new Jupyter Notebook, IPython Notebook technique that is my new workflow. So what you're seeing with these series of videos is me transforming my workflow from previously, which was exclusively Vim and some server out there somewhere. Let's see if I'm running it still, yeah. Oh, I'm running index, so not this project here. So Vim, let's see, save serp. You would see me in Vim, and then I would save and drop out to a shell, and then I'd git commit, and then I'd push it, and then I'd hop over to a server, usually a web page, and do a refresh on that web page to get the server code to run again, usually under Flask. But I am finding now that this is a much more friendly Python code execution environment, running locally, having all the power and force of this, continuum organization behind it. If you search on Anaconda, I was at first thinking Anaconda was going away or obsolete because Microsoft was adding a Ubuntu bash shell. But now that I've started playing with Anaconda, I realize that it really creates a local environment that has a lot of continuity, a lot of controlled conditions in very much the same way as I was trying to do with Linux, with a much, much more scaled down different set of project criteria, so people could get a taste quickly of Python server-like environment capable of web serving and such. But this IPython or Jupyter Notebook environment is just so incredibly powerful. This REPL environment, REPL. which stands for read, eval, print, loop. When you go to just a normal command line, let's see, and just type Python, you are in a REPL environment right here. You can set, A equals range 10. Now under Python 3, that's going to be a range 10 object. So A equals, let's turn that into a list. Now you've got a list, and if you wanted to do something to every member of a list, you could just put your list name into square brackets. So this is a list of lists with one list contained, but once a list is in square brackets, you can do x for x in, and watch the square brackets go away. So it's back to just a normal list, but you've got a transform language here. And this is also an introduction to the beauty of REPL environments and the beauty of list comprehensions. So if I were to do now a simple transformation for every x, like a modulus 2, so you get your evens and your odds, you get 0, 1, 0, 1, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you wanted to change that range, for example, to 100, now you got to go through all those steps again. I'm not even going to bother to show you, but when you're in an environment like IPython here, let's just comment these out since that's such a big thing, and I can even run that and you'll just see that disappear, but now we're not locked up. But now I can do A equals range 10, execute, A equals list A, execute. If I ever wanted to see it, I could just do the same things I do anywhere else, like that. In fact, you can add steps in the middle, show A, so you can actually see your transformation. In fact, a clear way to do that would be this, right? Print A, get rid of the ambiguities. Now you have this flexibility to just cut stuff out, right? So everything becomes so much more, I don't know, explicit, understandable, experimental. Oops. Now there is order sensitivity here, so sometimes you got to do these in order or else you're going to see stuff you didn't expect. So this one belongs above that. So a range, a list, and then that little trick of putting that. So this is how you internalize list comprehensions. Once you have a list and you put a, well, that should have the double square brackets around it, shouldn't it? You can always go cell, run all. Oh, I see. Yeah, of course, A equals square brackets around A. So now you're going to get your double brackets. But now that you're in this world of list comprehensions, oh, I see, I didn't really even want A1 equals because I'm demonstrating list comprehensions. You put the square bracket around it, you show the square bracket, so we are just really printing. What we want to do is demonstrate what printing square brackets around A is going to do. And there's your double brackets, triple brackets, isn't it? Because of order of operations. So cell, run all, and you can see it's back to double brackets now. So this has a lot of the characteristics of a debugging environment because your variables maintain their state. And if you ever want to, quote, reinitialize, you just run from the beginning, or you can just interactively work from wherever you left off with the values set to whatever they were set at. But the beautiful thing here is when transitioning this thought process to list comprehensions, once you have what is a list inside square brackets, it's a list of a list until you do x for x in. If you just remember x for x in on any list, you are now in list comprehensions, because how small is it to go from this sort of redundant, language for a list, because A is a list, to a transformation per element in the list? Is that easy? Modulus is a good place to go. So it's easy to express. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. List comprehensions. That simple. And the the simple part of it, you can get it now because you're seeing it here. This is a range object. You get a range object. You put a list, object around it, turns into a list. You put the syntax for a list object is very similar to what's happening here, but you do it. See, I could have done this with this as well. Command line completion helping you. I could have done that with that as well, and it would have the exact same results. But when you state a list of a list and you sort of get this going on here, a list of a list is list comprehensions because you can do transforms on each element of the outer list. And it has this simple arbitrary variable name for arbitrary variable name in list. That's list comprehensions. It's really that simple. And it takes a bit to get over that mental block, but the fact that it's so easy in a REPL environment, read, eval, print, loop, and that Jupyter Notebook is the best REPL environment I've found yet, although PyCharm for its debugging environment is pretty impressive. But I am blending this GitHub and Vim workflow that I have with a REPL environment so that I can do my experimenting here, then rapidly promote things I like over to the text files, which I'll always have open over here, either my notebook or the code itself. And it's just a wonderful work environment. You got your Macintosh virtual screens to go back and forth. I experimented a little with tmux, but I might not even be using tmux when I'm here on my 13-inch Mac platform because it's just so perfect for full screen operation. So I guess that's about it. I'm switching to this as my main work environment, and I'm going to be making heavy use of this with open as the outer loop of a very pipulate-like process, so I can work against files that are potentially billions of lines long, and it will have zero local memory impact aside from stepping through and grabbing the tiny little portion of the file it needs for the next step in the iteration. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.